Hell's Kitchen's dorms aren't just a place to rest, but somewhere that some serious conspiracies take shape. And sometimes things take a turn for the worst. Like this time when a contestant was so pissed that he surprisingly became the laughingstock.
You're what? More dominant than you.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Wait, what? How is that even possible? If you remember in season 13, the blue team wasn't exactly having the best time on the show since their performance was often inconsistent. The team, however, suffered a major setback in the 10th episode when their communication was subpar and they made a ton of mistakes. To top it all off, Brian Gallagher and Sade Dancy had their own thing going. They were at each other's throats. Chef Ramsay was so disappointed that although the blue team completed their service, they were still deemed losers. The team had to come up with 2 nominations for the elimination round. So who do you think was destined to leave? Aaron Lamont decided to make things easy for his team when he did something pretty unexpected. He nominated himself up for elimination. It's pretty unusual to see people take responsibility for their actions, especially in circumstances like this. But Aaron was different. He believed that he was the main reason behind the blue team's poor service, which was actually right, but I really appreciate him for coming clean. That's possibly the only thing I liked about Aaron in the entire season. However, Brian had to play the tough guy. He refused to go up for elimination and declared that he was done being Mr. Nice Guy. So here we have one contestant who was willing to sacrifice himself while the other was determined to stay in the competition. But what happened next left the entire team in shock. Aaron, at this point, had to pick another contestant for elimination. And guess who he chose? Bryant Gallagher. Just as Brian heard his name, he lost his mind.
Yo, bro. Fucking heated right now, dude.
Yeah?
Damn, someone was angry. Now, do you remember how Brian had this little cold war with Sade? For some reason, he thought that Sade was somehow responsible for Aaron's decision, but Aaron had a mind of his own. And well, this is what he had to say.
Because she was more organized than you were.
If you ask me, I totally agree with this user who noted that Brian sounded like a total white suburban kid. What's more, viewers couldn't stop themselves from a new discovery. It looks like Brian had a little hidden talent. One user went to the extent of saying that Brian sounded like he was trying to win a rap battle. I mean, just listen to this.
You can't listen and cook at the same time. You need a bullhorn at the end of the table here to talk over me.
Yup, sounds like a budding rap artist to me. But somebody didn't seem to like the tone very much. If you listen closely, Bryant was actually thrashing Aaron for not being a great cook and for not having a mind of his own. But Aaron wasn't having any of it. If it wasn't enough that Bryant was creating a ton of drama, Aaron decided to join in. And well, that's when things really intensified.
Shut the fuck up with you! Fuck you, dude!
Boy, I've never seen Aaron explode like that any time before. However, everything was about to take a turn. Just when you thought Bryant would take Aaron out, he decided to pull a third person in.
I'm telling you right now, your ass is going, and I'm picking you.
Me.
Who saw that coming, huh? But you know what the boss moment of the day was? The way Fernando reacted to Bryant's outburst.
What? Fuck you. You know?
Damn, what a classy act right there. Fernando didn't give a damn. Meanwhile, it looked like Bryant was having a massive meltdown. And well, he couldn't even come up with the right explanation to throw Fernando under the bus.
Couldn't hang in there on fish. No, I'm sorry,
Wait,
not
what?
on fish. You couldn't, it was something.
Did you just see how this argument moved from Aaron to Fernando within seconds? Bryant was clearly making a fool of himself, and you could see how none of them were actually taking him seriously. I mean, absolutely no one.
Keep going, come on.
Okay.
Come on, keep going, come on.
I'm not really sure what Bryant was up to, but it was now time for Sade to be the queen. Bryant was being so irrational that out of nowhere, he suddenly started to pick on Sade.
Can't judge you at all. There's no way.
I mean, I've been here for 3 services, so.
What was up with this guy? He was acting like a total clown. But Sade had the best comeback ever in her defense when she said this.
I don't know how to judge you right now.
Well, then you gotta find a way, honey, because.
Don't call me honey.
Sade's sarcasm threw Bryant completely off guard. He didn't even know how to react anymore. Bryant was just looking to pick a fight, but sadly for him, none of them gave in. And this pissed him off even more.
You fucking putting justifying on me, showing that you are a weak ass man.
Bryant was acting like a saint, like he never did anything wrong. But did he forget about the raw scallops he sent to the past during the service?
Who cooked them? Who cooked them?
My turn.
Despite it being Bryant's fault, it was Aaron who took the responsibility for the scallops. Where was Bryant's voice then? This guy always proclaimed to be a good leader, but all I could see was someone who was desperately trying to stay in the competition. And for someone who was really struggling to get a grip, he made the most dubious statement about himself ever.
I'm dominant more than you. That's why I'm standing.
Did you see Aaron's reaction? That's me right now. I mean, what kind of dominance was Brian even talking about? Aaron was just so sick of Brian's poor attitude and realized that this discussion wasn't going anywhere. Soon after, Aaron said the most accurate thing I've ever heard.
No executive chef in their right mind blows their stack like that.
Isn't it? I mean, what kind of executive chef behaves like this? None of them. Aaron just told Bryant that he couldn't be bothered in the most subtle way possible. And honestly, that definitely ticked Brian off. He dashed to get a soda from the fridge, unscrewed the cork, and forgot what to do about it. One of the viewers noted how Brian, acting like a tough guy, failed miserably. Especially the way others handled him, it made him look ridiculous. But no one could beat Fernando, right? Anyway, in this next episode, 2 contestants refused to take the blame for screwing up the service. But one of them had to leave for good. Now, every disastrous service is usually followed by a really charged up deliberation. And that's exactly what happened in season 11. Chef Ramsay was frustrated after an embarrassing dinner service on the 13th day of the competition. How embarrassing was it, you ask? Ramsay had to kick both teams out of the kitchen. So you could imagine how it went down. Since both teams were named joint losers, each of them had to choose one person for elimination. The atmosphere was intense for both teams, but the Red Dorm was about to explode. The entire team failed miserably at the service, but Janelle Witt was the reason why the team got kicked out. Understandably so, Cindy Stanimirov picked Janelle as her nominee, and Susan Heaton was in full agreement with this decision. However, Janelle wasn't in the mood to accept this without putting up a fight.
One dinner service makes me the weakest. I don't think so.
Well, if you ask me, I think she had a pretty valid question. Janelle refused to believe she was the weakest chef on the red team and made sure to remind them of the game's rules. As per the rule, contestants needed to pick the weakest chef for elimination. And while Susan thought that everyone was on par with each other, Janelle had something else on her mind. What she said next left Susan in shock.
For me, I think you should go up.
Why are we even arguing about it?
If you ask me, I think Susan's reaction was pretty legit. I mean, she wasn't the one who sent out raw scallops or even the one who screwed up the VIP table's dish. That was all Janelle. But she wasn't ready to accept this.
You had a lot of mistakes tonight, and I think that makes you weak.
Susan definitely had a point right there, but Janelle continued to be adamant. It looked like things were about to get heated when Janelle and Susan locked horns with each other. But out of nowhere, Janelle put up a question that left the red team in confusion.
If you had to choose between me being on your team and Susan being on your team, who would you want?
The red team was in for a grueling task. Picking a name had never been this difficult before. But things were getting equally stirred up in the blue dorms. When Nedra Harris asked Zach Womack who the weakest chef was, Zach pointed at her. Who saw that coming, right? Nedra was so taken aback that she decided to argue against it.
Nope, I'm not the weakest chef. I'm not.
John Scallion and Zach teamed up and reminded her of how disorganized and poor her performance was during the prep. But Nedra refused to accept this.
Hold on, you're not about to fucking beat me down. Let's get that fucking straight.
Well, just because you could yell and scream, that doesn't mean anything, you know? Nedra then started to talk about how her team was trying to sabotage her, but hold it right there. What kind of sabotage was she talking about exactly? It was her station that screwed up, which means that it was her sole responsibility.
What?
I totally second Zach on that one, but Nedra wasn't done yet. What she said next left everyone in the blue team perplexed.
Your bitch ass is going up, or Anthony, between you two.
Why would Anthony be put up?
Wait, did you just pick Anthony's name? That dude had nothing to do with any of this. You could also see in a Reddit discussion how users questioned Nedra's thought process. One said that if it was just Zach she was accusing, then maybe her words would have held some value. But since she pulled Anthony into the mud, Nedra probably wasn't thinking straight at that point. I mean, he definitely wasn't nuts. But this has been a reoccurring issue with Nedra. A Reddit user mentioned how she would toss the blame on whoever was most convenient and use her loud and aggressive voice to try and intimidate other contestants. I mean, why nominate Anthony Rodriguez of all people? It made no sense at all. But what she forgot was that this wasn't the red team anymore. It was Nedra's first day in the blue team, and it looks like she already touched the wrong nerve.
You can kiss my ass if you think I'm going up.
At that point, Zach was pretty much determined to put Nedra up for elimination.
You're going up.
I'm not fucking going up. Fuck you.
They weren't happy at all to have her on board, and they would make sure to get rid of her as soon as they could. While the red team shockingly chose Susan as their nominee, the blue team hadn't reached a decision yet. Or that's what Nedra wanted to believe.
Have you reached a decision?
Yes, chef.
No, chef.
Things got worse when the dorm fight continued right in front of Chef Ramsay.
They screwed me tonight, Chef.
That's a blatant lie.
You are such a fucking liar.
After listening to the blame game boiling up, Ramsay only had one thing left to do.
Stop.
Clearly,
Alright, enough.
Damn, having disagreements is one thing, but bickering like school kids while disregarding Chef Ramsay is insane. Who do you think was shown the door that night after this hideous argument? Honestly, I think you already know. But these two contestants, who always got into fights, had the worst blowout ever until one decided to end things. And this happened on the third day of Season 9 thanks to Amanda Colello and Carrie Keep's continuous mistakes. As a result, the red team was behind with their orders. The team's performance was so poor that none of the diners received their entrees. The last straw for Chef Ramsay was when Carrie sent up a raw lamb to the pass. And well, this actually happened to be the first ticket in the entree round. Chef Ramsay was so fed up that he made Gina Melcher and the entire team apologize to all the tables one after another. It came to no surprise that he kicked the red team out of the kitchen soon after. Back in the dorm, Amanda was worried that Chef Ramsay might call her out, but Elise saw this opportunity to get rid of Carrie. I think you know about the hot and cold relationship between Elise and Carrie. They constantly argued with each other and always tried to get rid of each other during the nominations. The catfight drew in so much attention that a Reddit poll was made about the arguments between them. The poll asked if anyone enjoyed the argument between Carrie and Elise. While 207 people voted no, there were a good 95 that said yes. One user even commented by saying, no, it made Season 9 borderline unwatchable. They're both impossible to root for, with Elise just barely better at cooking and Carrie just barely better personality-wise. So, you see how these two couldn't stop tugging at each other's hair? Well, this dinner service was no different. It all started when Carrie tried to talk to Elise, but Elise rudely told her not to. And well, that was all that was required to start a full-blown argument.
Get out of my face!
Just wait. You can talk to her later.
In the midst of the argument, Elise asked Carrie if she took any medication since she thought she was living in another world. I think that was a bit too harsh, but Elise had more to say.
You up the whole rhythm of the kitchen, and I knew this was gonna happen.
Finally, Carrie lost her cool, and this is how she reacted.
Stop it.
Yes,
I did not.
Yes,
You know how bad I want this.
Wow.
Stop it.
Elise then blamed the meat station for the night's performance, and clearly she meant Carrie. Meanwhile, Jennifer Normand was worried that she might have to take the fall with Carrie, but Elise asked her to chill out. This was just between her and Carrie, so Jennifer had nothing to do with it. But Carrie sure did, and she had a lot to say.
Elise, you're gonna blame me anyway. You don't even want me here.
However, do you think someone like Elise would back down? Of course not. Elise blamed Carrie for not communicating well, and the argument continued almost infinitely.
How about I up the entire night? I up the
Elise,
entire...
the entire night?
But like everything else, Elise wanted to take charge and put an end to this discussion. But do you know how she did it? Like this.
You're crazy. Just like I said, period. End of discussion.
What an iconic way to end an argument. However, in this next episode, both teams chose the wrong nominee for elimination. But someone who was considered safe had to leave the show instead for good. What's more, what followed this left all the contestants gasping. I think Season 7 had one of the worst openings in Hell's Kitchen history. In the second episode, while both teams struggled throughout the service, Andrew Foster did the unthinkable when he made a rather dramatic exit. Chef Ramsay was so frustrated that he named both teams joint losers. And well, this meant that each team had to nominate one contestant. During the discussion, in the blue team, Jay Santos considered Jason Ellis for nomination and Benjamin Knack agreed as well. However, although Jason admitted that he hadn't given his 100%, he refused to go up for elimination since he wasn't the weakest chef in the team. On the other hand, Jason considered Salvatore Coppola, and the reason behind it was absolutely illogical.
Person that I think is not culinary refined, I vote Salvatore.
What a load of bull. Mikey pitched in as well and nominated Salvatore for elimination. But you know what's funny? Nobody talked about Mikey's performance. Forget about his performance, nobody even brought up his name. If you ask me, he would have been a better fit for elimination. And that's something even Mikey was aware of. But as always, he decided to play it safe. Back in the red team, Nilka Hendricks and Autumn Lewis were nominated. And well, it's pretty apparent that both teams had nominated the wrong people. However, in the end, Mikey, who wasn't even nominated, was eliminated from the show. And I think this was one of the best decisions ever made on Hell's Kitchen. After an unexpected turn of events, both teams headed right back to the dorms. But none of them were prepared for what was about to follow.
Upfront, outspoken, goddamn right. You gonna crucify me for that?
Jason clearly wasn't happy with the blue team's decision, but you know what? This was the reason why most of the teammates wanted him gone. He had a foul attitude and it really showed.
Don't fuck me because you don't understand me. Don't sit around and plot.
When Jay tried to confront Jason about his temper, Jason blew it out of proportion.
I could break this fucking chair right now with my goddamn hands.
Picking someone out based on their attitude alone isn't justified, but I think Jason should have handled the situation a little better. After all, it was a competition. I later found a Reddit discussion about Jason where a user wrote how Jason was a good cook but lacked creativity and leadership skills. But what this next viewer said fits Jason best. Jason did have some impeccable skills, but he could have done better had he dropped his attitude. It was fine dining after all, not some street fight. However, nothing could compare to the rivalry between these two contestants. And what better place to vent out your frustration than the dorms? Honestly, I think this is something that brought so much attention to season 10. Both Kimmy Willis and Robin Almodovar couldn't go one day without roasting each other. Although they had several arguments throughout the season, this one in episode 10 has to be the worst. Even though Tiffany Johnson and Robin were the main reason for the team's downfall, the constant arguing between Robin and Kimmy was the reason for them being kicked out. In the dorms, while Christina Wilson was dismayed with the team's performance, Robin started to bitch about Kimmy screwing her over during the service. Christina had enough of it and informed Kimmy about what was happening inside.
Dude, you should go up and defend yourself because your girl is throwing you under the bus right now.
When Kimmy walked in, all hell broke loose.
Step the fuck back. I ain't stepping nowhere. You think I'm scared of you? I'm not scared of you.
Neither of them was ready to back down.
Call me a fucking bitch today, and you want me to keep my mouth shut?
Robin then blamed Christina for starting trouble, and we get to see Christina's first display of aggression.
Did you not just say that her two fucking ribeyes?
As for Robin and Kimmy, they just kept going on and on and on.
How many fish came back for you? My two fish came back because of you.
These two actually had a great rapport in the beginning, so where did all that go? Here's Robin's answer to that.
Keep my friends close, enemies close. That's why I was keeping you close to me, Kimmy.
Whoa, no wonder Robin nominated Kimmy up for elimination. But I wonder if this was for real, or if they were just playing it up for the cameras. Because apparently, these two hot-headed chefs remained friends after the show. So, did they fake it? Well, it looked real to me. But who knows, there may be more times when contestants cheated just to get their way on the show. It could happen at any moment.